today with Cheryl Raugh. She's a breast cancer survivor. And what we want to do today is just share a little bit about Cheryl's treatment, her journey, and also she had some fabulous tips, I think, to help patients as they kind of prepare for treatment and as they're going through treatment and even post-treatment. So we're going to do that today. So with that, I'd love to introduce Cheryl. Cheryl, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Lisa. So, as Lisa said, my name is Cheryl Raugh. I live in sunny South Florida with my husband and golden retriever. For my day job, I'm a project manager. I've worked from home since 2004, so that's nothing new for me since the pandemic. And I'm also a scuba diver. Once a year, we go on a trip to some sunny, warm, tropical place, but had to curtail that during my breast cancer treatment. And our previous golden retriever passed away right after I was diagnosed with cancer, right before I started chemo. But now we have a new golden retriever who walks me every day.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. When we talk about the COVID year and all the challenges people faced, you obviously faced even more challenging, life-changing events. So, Cheryl, if you could just share a little bit too about your diagnosis at that time and the treatment that you received, et cetera, that would be helpful.
Sure. So in March of 2020, the world was shutting down due to COVID. That's exactly when I found a lump in my left breast. I went to the doctor to get a referral mammogram. I was familiar with the whole process because I'd had 2 lumps aspirated before. So I thought I knew what to expect. During the ultrasound, they kept focusing in my armpit, and I just knew that something was different. And that's because the cancer had spread to my lymph nodes. So on April 9th, 2020, I got the call that I had breast cancer. And it was triple negative breast cancer, which is fairly aggressive. So my chemo began before the end of the month. And I had 4 different types of chemo, then surgery, then radiation, where I received 33 rounds of radiation for my treatment.
Wow. Very challenging, but you've made it through and you're now surviving and thriving, which is amazing and awesome. As we know, we're focused on the radiation piece of it. And I know part of your treatment, you did receive the tattoo and mark-free treatment. I don't know if you wanted to share a little bit about your perspective about that.
Yeah, so I did receive the tattoo-free treatment. I had several people who had had breast cancer survivors tell me about how I would be getting tattoos to line me up for the radiation. And then when I got the CT scan, they used what I call, as a layperson, an airbag to make a mold of my body. And when I went for treatment every day, they had a rack similar to a coat rack that had each patient's mold, and they place it on the machine and you get in perfect position every time without tattoos. So the Align RT technology is an advanced technology and it eliminates the need for those tattoos. It's truly a mark-free treatment.
Yeah, and I think a lot of patients just don't know about that option. There might be religious reasons they don't want a tattoo, or they just would prefer not to have that permanent reminder long term, et cetera. But you were lucky enough to go to a center that offers that type of treatment. So that was a great benefit for having treatment at that particular center. So the one thing, Cheryl, I know in our conversations that I felt were where you had some significant tips and that you could share kind of your perspective that might be helpful was around the fact that you're a project manager. That's your career, that's your skill set. And how did you apply your project management skills to your treatment and managing your treatment? I think that would be real helpful for everyone to hear.
Sure. So as a project manager, I treated my cancer as a project. A project has a definitive beginning and an end. In this case, the beginning was the diagnosis all the way through to the end of my radiation treatments. I called each type of treatment a phase. Phase 1 was my chemo, phase 2 was surgery, phase 3 was radiation. And then the project transitioned to the sustaining, ongoing operational phase, which for cancer is survivorship. And chunking it up into phases allows you to focus so you're not so overwhelmed. A project also has resources, a schedule, and a budget. So my resources were the medical team that took care of me, as well as my husband, who was my primary caretaker, my friends, family, coworkers that supported me along the way. Those were my resources. The schedule covered the entire treatment plan throughout all the phases. And like most projects, the schedule kind of slides to the right. So I had my schedule, and yeah, we didn't finish when the original finish date was supposed to be. And then as far as the budget goes, I considered that to be my insurance copays until I met my deductible. And trust me, there's plenty of medical bills to go around when it comes to getting treatment for cancer. So as far as communicating to folks, with my customers, once I have weekly meetings, I send weekly notes and updates. So that's what I did with my cancer treatment. Each week, I would send an email. And, you know, lots of people, they mean well when they want to call and talk, but you're tired. You don't have time to hit rewind play and tell everybody your story over and over and over. And you have so much to do and not much gets done because you're tired. You feel like crap. So by sending the weekly updates on Friday afternoons, between my work week and the weekend, it was my transition. Everybody knew that they were going to get that email. So everybody got the same level of detail. And then folks that wanted more information that were closer to me, they could call and I could give them a little bit of update. So it cut down on the amount of time that I had to spend providing updates to people. And as my therapist said, I controlled the information flow instead of it controlling me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you said that was really helpful, like from a business and your job perspective, that then your colleagues knew if, you know, if you were going to be out in advance, so that if there was a block on your calendar, they understood that you had, you know, a cancer treatment or an appointment, et cetera. So that was definitely helpful from a work, you know, balance and management perspective too. So yeah, I think those are some great tips. The fact that you phased it out, you communicate, push out the content, just kind of alleviating you being in multiple directions and being overwhelmed by all of the stages, all of the information, and then just trying to share out with, you know, with your people that are helping you and there for you. So the one piece too that we talked about is when you're going to appointments and there's so much information that's coming at you, you know, what would you suggest helps to just make sure you get all the information that's presented at some of the key appointments? You know, I think you mentioned you bring your husband, with your husband at some of the key meetings, but if you had any other tips or insights for patients and for people regarding that.
Right. So there's a lot of lessons learned. And yeah, not that you want to go through it again, but one time through, you kind of become an expert. So first of all, take it day by day. Don't get overwhelmed. And keep a positive attitude. I can't stress this enough. It's okay to get down on yourself, but, you know, pick yourself right back up and keep plowing through. I know that's easier said than done, but it really does help overall. I told everybody I know that I had cancer, and I would advise other folks to do that too. don't hide it, because the more people that know that you have cancer, the more people come to your aid and support, and they will be your cheerleaders. You don't even know what you need, but they will bring you or give you exactly what you need. And it truly takes a village, and you will appreciate everybody. Then it's from a medical perspective, do all those things that the doctors tell you to do. And this is a tough one. It's hard for me too, but exercise, eat right, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. I still do that. Basically, treat your body like a temple, so it will take good care of you for a good long life. It's the only one you've got. And also, from a medical perspective, ask lots of questions. I typed up a list of questions. You don't have to do that, but that made sure I didn't forget what I wanted to ask. And even though my husband was right there with me at my appointments, especially in the beginning when you're taking in so much information, it's hard to remember everything. So a great tip that was given to me was to record the appointments. So you can do this on your cell phone, and then, you and whoever your caretaker is can listen to the recording, when you get home at a time that you can focus, and it helps things sink in. So even if you bring somebody else along, it's new for them too, and it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, those are some great tips. And I think that's ties to really the saferradiationtherapy.com website that we have. I think some of the most commonly visited pages are the FAQs, or even our doctor discussion guides, which are handouts that patients can take to to their appointment to make sure they're asking about the technology or about their treatment, to ensure that potentially they're getting the deep inspiration breath hold, or how are we protecting my heart. So yeah, I think having your questions and being prepared and being comfortable of having kind of that two-way dialogue with your healthcare professional, with your provider, I think is important. And then the other piece you said about the fact that you don't know what you don't know, and that you should share it, like you should share with everyone. I think you're right. I think a lot of people would be more apt to say, I don't want people to know. I just want to manage this on my own. But the reality is, I think based on your advice, is you need, if you share out, you don't know what you don't know, what you don't know what you need. And that if people are there, it just is that support system that will help you through a very difficult, challenging time. So really great insights there. So just to kind of to end this, and the last thought is, how do you feel that your cancer treatment and where you are in life, how did it impact, how did it change your life? And I know we've had conversations about how it's actually kind of inspired you to maybe, pursue some different things in life. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So oddly enough, it has given me such an appreciation for life, and not to take it for granted. Sometimes I slip up, and the other day I was complaining about how I had gained some weight recently, and a family member reminded me that it's okay, because I'm still here on earth to gain that weight. I didn't die of cancer. So that put everything just back in perspective. And my diagnosis made me realize just how very blessed I am. I'm blessed with good doctors, great oncology care team, great husband and caretaker, great friends, family members, coworkers, just so many people who have truly lifted my spirits and carried me through the entire ordeal. I couldn't have done it without them.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So there's some good things that came out of a very difficult and challenging time. And I also know you've talked about potentially writing and sharing, kind of your thoughts and your perspectives, and some helpful tips in the future. So we're looking forward to seeing what comes in the future from you in regards to your writing and potentially some books. So we'll see. So anyway, Sheryl, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. I think it will be beneficial for patients, as I mentioned in the introduction, patients who are just starting treatment, in the midst of treatment, et cetera, or even post-treatment. So we thank you very much, and we look forward to having contact with you in the future about your journey in survivorship. So thank you again.
Great, and thank you.